Regardless of what the Colorado Republican Party did last night, voters decide presidential primary winners. The voters do. And the First in the Nation caucus is tonight in Iowa. Several students from the University of Denver are there to see the caucuses in person. And as politics guy Marshall Zellender found out, shouldn't really admit they're from Colorado.
This is not the Eastern Plains, at least of Colorado. This is Iowa, where Republican presidential candidates are trying to perform in the caucuses better than the weather, above zero.
Wind chill of -16, I think, but I think like the base temperature is what, -2?
Yeah, a balmy -2.
Yeah.
DU political science professor Seth Maskett and a dozen students are in Iowa to observe the process to select the preferred Republican presidential candidate.
First day we went and we saw Asa Hutchinson, we saw Nikki Haley, we saw DeSantis, and we did Trump. And those were interesting, very distinct events.
DU senior Laura Dufresne and sophomore Dylan Lindsay are interacting with Iowans for their class, while sheepishly saying it's a class in Colorado.
Going up to people and mentioning that we are from the University of Denver in Denver, Colorado is at times difficult because Colorado, especially right now, is on the main stage with the 14th Amendment case.
Next month, the U.S. Supreme Court will hear arguments in the 14th Amendment case out of Colorado that disqualified Trump from the ballot for engaging in an insurrection. His name will be printed on Colorado's March 5th primary ballots, but the Supreme Court will decide if he's eligible for votes here and in other states. Dylan is not humble bragging he's from Colorado. He's gathering content for class.
I'm studying strategic communications and political science, so me and my partner decided to look into how events are advertised and how that really plays out in the demographics and the kind of people that you're attracting.
The kind of people that were caucusing is one reason Democrats have moved Iowa out of the first caucus spot in place of South Carolina.
Democrats had a lot of concerns that Iowa's electorate was not very representative of the rest of the Democratic Party, which I think was a legitimate point. Republicans have a little less of a concern about that.
When the class gets back, they'll have warm and fuzzy memories from Iowa, minus the warm part.
For me, it's connecting with people so that I can better understand my own ideology, better understand where they're coming from, and hopefully be able to bridge some of the gaps that we've been seeing and some of the division that we've been seeing in our political culture.
So if you're wondering, hey, when do we get to go into the cold and do that whole caucus thing? Colorado got rid of that process. In 2020, we had the presidential primary. Before that, it would have been caucuses just like that, but people's voices weren't being heard. You had the party insiders, Mark, and you had a lot of just the general public saying, hey, how come I don't have my voice heard? And that's what you see in Iowa. They love that in Iowa. Colorado didn't like that anymore, and that's why we switched to the presidential primary, which I know the Colorado Republican Party is like, maybe we shouldn't have the primary and just do it caucus style.
Exactly. We make light of the cold. It's even colder in Iowa than it is here, but it actually could have an impact on how many people come out to the caucuses, who gets elected or who gets the most number of votes in the caucuses, and who actually comes out of this.
Sure. But they love that. And I was talking with, Dylan was telling me, he was talking with people about how far they traveled to see like Donald Trump. He didn't go to all 99 counties like Ron DeSantis did. So if you were from one part of Iowa, you had to drive like an hour out of the way in the cold to go see him if you wanted to see him. And so like there's just this feeling, and I was there 4 years ago, of like, this is something we're passionate about. We're the first. We're going to do it. I will say
it's a tradition.
The Democratic side, Joe Biden 4 years ago did not do great in Iowa.
Right.
Awful in New Hampshire. Went to South Carolina, which was third. Now it's going to be first for the Democrats next time. And look where it got.
They don't necessarily have a great track record of actually picking.
You don't have to win Iowa to become the presidential nominee.
Exactly. Marshall, thank you.